Have you ever had that strange feeling? You know, when it seems like the world is trying to tell you something, but you just can't put your finger on it? Maybe you keep seeing the same number everywhere you go. Or perhaps you bump into an old friend right when you were thinking about them. It's like the universe is tapping you on the shoulder, trying to get your attention. But here's the thing. What if it's not just coincidence? What if the universe really is trying to talk to you? Now I know what you're thinking. The universe talking to me? That sounds a bit out there. But stick with me for a moment. Imagine if there was a way to understand these little nudges and whispers from the world around us. What if you could actually make sense of all those weird coincidences and gut feelings? That's what we're going to explore today. The idea that the universe might be sending you messages and how you can start to understand them. Think about it like this. Have you ever missed an important phone call because your ringer was off? Or maybe you didn't see an email that could have changed your day? Well, what if the universe is trying to reach out to you in the same way? These signs from the universe are like that phone call or email. They're messages meant just for you. But if you're not paying attention, you might miss them completely. Now you might be wondering, why should I care about these so-called signs? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt stuck in life? Like you're facing a big decision and you just don't know which way to turn? Or maybe you've had times when everything seemed to be going wrong and you couldn't figure out why. These are the moments when paying attention to the universe's signs can really make a difference. Ignoring these signs isn't just about missing out on a little cosmic wisdom. It can actually have a big impact on your life. Think about it. How many times have you looked back on something and thought, I had a feeling I should have done that differently? Those gut feelings, those little coincidences that seem to be pointing you in a certain direction. They might have been the universe trying to guide you. When we ignore these signs, we risk missing out on amazing opportunities. Maybe you brushed off that recurring dream as just a weird sleep thing. But what if it was trying to tell you something important about your life? Or perhaps you ignored that nagging feeling about a job or a relationship, only to realize later that your gut was right all along. Being blind to the universe's signs can leave us feeling lost and disconnected. It's like walking through life with blinders on, missing all the helpful hints and guideposts along the way. We might end up making decisions that don't align with our true selves, or missing chances for growth and happiness that were right in front of us. But here's the good news. When you start to tune in to these universal signs, amazing things can happen. It's like suddenly having a wise friend who's always there to give you advice and point you in the right direction. People who learn to read these signs often find that they make better decisions. They feel more connected to the world around them and to their own inner wisdom. Imagine feeling more confident in your choices because you're in tune with the universe's guidance. Or picture yourself navigating life's challenges with a sense of trust and ease, knowing that you're picking up on important cues from the world around you. This is what can happen when you open yourself up to the universe's messages. Now, let's talk about what we actually mean when we say signs from the universe. These aren't big, dramatic events like the sky opening up or a voice booming from the heavens. Most of the time, they're much more subtle. They're the little things that catch your attention, make you pause, or give you that, that's weird feeling. Universal signs can show up in all sorts of ways. One common example is seeing repeated numbers. Have you ever noticed that you keep seeing the same number sequence over and over? Maybe you wake up at 11:11 every night, or you keep getting receipts that total $22.22. Some people believe these number patterns are the universe's way of sending you a message. Another example is animal encounters. Maybe you keep seeing the same type of bird wherever you go, or a butterfly lands on you at a significant moment. In many spiritual traditions, these kinds of animal encounters are seen as meaningful signs. Dreams can also be a way the universe communicates with us. Have you ever had a dream that felt super real or that stuck with you long after you woke up? Some people believe these vivid or recurring dreams might be messages from the universe. But here's an important thing to remember. Signs from the universe aren't one size fits all. What's meaningful to one person might not mean anything to someone else. For example, if you have a special connection to horses, seeing a horse unexpectedly might feel like a significant sign to you. But for someone who's never really thought about horses, it might not mean anything at all. This is why paying attention to your own reactions is so important. A universal sign is often something that stands out to you personally, something that gives you a little jolt of recognition or a feeling that it's somehow important. Think of the universe's signs as a special language, one that's unique to you. It's like the universe is trying to speak to you in a way that you'll understand. This is why some people might get messages through dreams, while others might notice patterns in nature or in the people they meet. The key is to start noticing what catches your attention. What makes you stop and think, that's interesting? What gives you goosebumps or a feeling of déjà vu? These could be the ways the universe is trying to communicate with you. Now, you might be wondering, why would the universe bother trying to talk to us anyway? It's a great question, and it touches on some big ideas about how we're all connected. Many spiritual traditions believe that everything in the universe is interconnected. It's the idea that we're not just separate individuals bumping into each other randomly, but part of a bigger interconnected web of existence. In this view, the universe isn't some cold, distant thing. It's alive and aware, and we're all part of it. If we're all connected like this, then it makes sense that the universe would try to guide us. It's like how your body sends you signals when you're hungry or tired. In the same way, the bigger body of the universe might send us signals to help us navigate our lives. One of the main reasons the universe might communicate with us is to guide us on our life path. We all have times when we feel lost or unsure about what to do next. Should we take that new job, move to a new city, end a relationship? These big life decisions can be really tough to make. This is where universal signs can come in handy. They might not give you a clear yes or no answer, but they can often provide hints or nudges in a certain direction. Maybe you're thinking about moving to a new city, and suddenly you start seeing references to that city everywhere. Or perhaps you're considering a career change, and you keep meeting people who work in that field. These could be the universe's way of confirming you're on the right track. Another reason the universe might send us signs is to help us grow and learn. Life isn't always easy, and sometimes we face challenges that seem really tough. But often, these challenges are opportunities for us to learn important lessons and become stronger. Universal signs during these times might be encouragement to keep going or guidance on how to handle the situation. For example, you might be going through a hard time and keep seeing messages about strength or perseverance. Or you might get a sudden idea about how to solve a problem you've been struggling with. The universe wants us to fulfill our potential and live our best lives. By sending us signs and messages, it's like the universe is cheering us on, helping us to become the best versions of ourselves. Finally, these universal signs can help us feel more connected to something bigger than ourselves. In our everyday lives, it's easy to get caught up in our own little worlds, our jobs, our problems, our to-do lists. We might feel isolated or disconnected. But when we start noticing and understanding these universal signs, it can give us a sense of being part of something much larger. It's a reminder that we're not alone, that there's a bigger picture we're part of. This can bring a sense of comfort and purpose to our lives. Think about how it feels when you notice a sign that seems meant just for you. Maybe you're having a really tough day, and then you see a beautiful rainbow. Or you're worried about a decision, and you get a clear sign pointing you in a certain direction. These moments can make us feel seen and supported by the universe. They remind us that we're part of something magical and mysterious, something much bigger than our day-to-day concerns. This connection to something larger can give our lives more meaning and depth. It can help us see beyond our immediate problems and remember that we're part of a vast, amazing universe. And that's a pretty incredible thing to be part of, don't you think? Now that we've talked about why the universe might want to communicate with us, let's look at some common ways it might try to get our attention. Remember, everyone's experience is unique, but these are some signs that many people report noticing. One of the most common types of universal signs is something called synchronicity. This is when two or more events happen that seem meaningfully related, even though there's no obvious cause and effect relationship between them. Here's an example. Let's say you're thinking about starting a new business. You're not sure if it's the right move, but you can't get the idea out of your head. Then, out of the blue, you run into an old friend who tells you they just started a similar business and it's going great. Later that same day, you overhear a conversation about the exact type of business you're considering. And then, when you get home, there's a TV show on about entrepreneurs in your field. All of these events happening one after another might feel like more than just coincidence. It might feel like the universe is trying to tell you something about your business idea. That's synchronicity. Synchronicities can be big or small. Sometimes they're dramatic enough to make you stop in your tracks. Other times they're more subtle, and you only notice the pattern when you look back on your day or week. The key with synchronicities is that they feel meaningful to you. It's not just about weird coincidences, but about events that seem to line up in a way that feels significant or helpful to your current situation. Another common way the universe might communicate with us is through our intuition, or what we often call gut feelings. You know that sense you sometimes get that something is right or wrong, even if you can't explain why. That might be the universe talking to you. Our gut feelings can show up in different ways. Sometimes it's a physical sensation, like a tightness in your stomach when something's not right, or a feeling of lightness and excitement when something good is about to happen. Other times, it might be more of a mental thing, a sudden certainty about what you should do, or a nagging doubt that won't go away. These gut feelings can be really helpful guides in our lives. They often know things before our conscious minds do. For example, you might have a gut feeling that you shouldn't trust someone, only to find out later that they weren't being honest with you. Or you might have a good feeling about a job opportunity that turns out to be perfect for you. The tricky part with gut feelings is learning to distinguish them from other emotions like fear or wishful thinking. It takes practice to recognize your true intuition. But as you pay more attention to these feelings and how they play out, you'll get better at recognizing when the universe might be trying to guide you through your intuition. Another way the universe might try to get your attention is through recurring themes in your life. This is when you start noticing the same idea, symbol, or situation popping up over and over again. For example, let's say you've been thinking about learning a new language. Suddenly, you might start noticing references to that language everywhere. Maybe you overhear people speaking it in the grocery store. Then you see a flyer for language classes. Later, you turn on the TV and there's a travel show about the country where that language is spoken. Or maybe it's a more abstract theme, like change or patience. You might notice that every book you pick up seems to have a message about embracing change, or you keep running into situations that require you to be patient. These recurring themes can be the universe's way of emphasizing a message or lesson that's important for you right now. It's like the universe is saying, "Hey, pay attention to this." The key with recurring themes is to notice the pattern. One or two instances might be coincidence, but when something keeps showing up in different ways, it might be worth paying attention to. Dreams can also be a powerful way the universe communicates with us. Many people report having vivid dreams that feel meaningful or prophetic. These might be dreams that stick with you long after you wake up, or dreams that repeat over time. Sometimes these dreams might be pretty straightforward, like dreaming about a solution to a problem you've been struggling with. Other times, they might be more symbolic or abstract, requiring some interpretation to understand. Some people also experience visions while they're awake. This might be a flash of an image in your mind, or a sudden, clear mental picture of something. These visions can sometimes provide guidance or insight. It's important to remember that not every dream is a message from the universe. We all have plenty of ordinary dreams that are just our brains processing information. But when a dream feels particularly vivid, emotional, or meaningful, it might be worth paying attention to. Sometimes the universe might try to communicate through physical sensations in your body. This could be things like a sudden warmth or tingling sensation, especially in your hands, feet, or the top of your head. Goosebumps or chills, especially when you're thinking about something important. A feeling of pressure or energy around your head, like wearing a hat. Ringing in your ears, especially if it happens when you're thinking about something specific. A fluttering sensation in your chest or stomach. These physical sensations often happen alongside other signs, like thoughts or emotions. For example, you might get goosebumps right as you have an important realization, or feel a warmth in your chest when you think about a particular decision. As with all these signs, the key is to notice patterns. If you consistently feel a certain sensation when you're on the right track, or when you're thinking about something important, it might be one of the ways the universe communicates with you. Nature can also be a source of signs from the universe. This might include things like seeing certain animals repeatedly, especially if it's an unusual animal for your area, noticing particular shapes in clouds or trees, finding objects like feathers, stones, or leaves in unexpected places, experiencing unusual weather patterns that seem meaningful to you. For example, if you keep seeing butterflies every time you think about making a big life change, that might be a sign encouraging transformation. Or if you find heart-shaped rocks whenever you're thinking about love, that could be a message about your relationships. The key with nature signs is to notice what stands out to you personally. What catches your eye or feels significant? Remember, a sign that's meaningful to you might not mean anything to someone else. Sometimes, the universe might send us messages through other people. This could be overhearing a conversation that seems to answer a question you've been pondering. A friend saying exactly what you needed to hear without knowing your situation. Meeting someone who has information or opportunities that are perfect for your current needs. Repeatedly encountering people who remind you of something or someone significant. These human messengers often show up unexpectedly and deliver their message without realizing how important it is to you. For example, you might be wondering if you should go back to school and then run into an old classmate who tells you about a great program they just finished. Or you might be thinking about your grandmother, and then a stranger stops you to compliment a piece of jewelry that your grandmother gave you. The key with human messengers is to be open to the idea that anyone could potentially deliver an important message. Sometimes wisdom comes from unexpected sources. As we wrap up this section on common ways the universe communicates, remember that these are just some possibilities. The universe might have unique ways of communicating with you that aren't on this list. The most important thing is to stay open and attentive to what's happening around you and inside you. Pay attention to what catches your eye, what gives you a strong feeling, or what keeps showing up in your life. These could all be ways the universe is trying to guide you, support you, or teach you something important. In the next section, we'll talk about why we sometimes miss these signs and how we can get better at noticing them. But for now, take a moment to think about your own life. Have you experienced any of these types of signs? Are there other ways you feel the universe might be trying to communicate with you? Keeping an open mind and heart is the first step to tuning into the universe's messages. In our busy, fast-paced world, it's easy to miss the subtle signs the universe might be sending our way. Think about your typical day. From the moment you wake up, you're probably bombarded with notifications, to-do lists, and a million little tasks demanding your attention. Maybe you're rushing from one meeting to another, or juggling work and family responsibilities. In all this hustle and bustle, it's no wonder we might overlook a recurring number or a meaningful coincidence. When we're constantly in go mode, we often don't take the time to pause and reflect on what's happening around us. We're so focused on getting through our day that we might not notice the unusual butterfly that keeps appearing, or the song that plays at just the right moment. It's like we're sprinting through life with blinders on, missing all the signposts along the way. This constant busyness can also disconnect us from our intuition. When we're always in our heads, planning and worrying, we might not hear that quiet inner voice trying to guide us. Our gut feelings get drowned out by the noise of our busy lives. Let's face it, We live in a world where our attention is constantly being pulled in a million directions. Our phones buzz with notifications, our inboxes fill up with emails, and there's always another post to scroll through on social media. While technology can be amazing, it can also be a major distraction that keeps us from noticing the universe's subtle messages. Think about the last time you were waiting in line or sitting on a bus. Did you immediately pull out your phone to pass the time? Many of us do this without even thinking about it. But in those quiet moments, when we're not actively doing something, the universe might be trying to send us a message. Maybe there's a conversation happening nearby that has just the information we need, or perhaps there's a sign or symbol in our environment that could offer some guidance. But if we're always plugged into our devices, we might miss these opportunities. Moreover, constant exposure to the online world can overwhelm us with information and opinions. With so much input coming at us all the time, it can be hard to distinguish between random noise and meaningful signs. We might be so caught up in the virtual world that we forget to pay attention to the real world around us, where many of these universal signs often appear. Another reason we might miss signs from the universe is simple skepticism. In our modern scientific world, many of us have been taught to be logical and rational above all else. The idea that the universe might be sending us personal messages can seem, well, a bit out there. If you've grown up with a skeptical or scientific mindset, you might automatically dismiss anything that seems like a sign as mere coincidence or random chance. You might think, there's no way that dream meant anything, or it's just a coincidence that I keep seeing that number. This kind of skepticism isn't necessarily bad. It's good to think critically, but if we're too quick to dismiss everything, we might be closing ourselves off to genuine guidance. Even if you're open to the idea of universal signs in theory, you might doubt your own ability to recognize or interpret them. You might think, sure, maybe the universe sends signs to some people, but why would it bother with me? This kind of self-doubt can prevent us from trusting our intuition and recognizing the signs that are meant for us. Sometimes, we might subconsciously avoid noticing signs from the universe because we're afraid of what they might mean. Change can be scary, and often the universe's messages are nudging us towards some kind of change or growth. For example, let's say you're in a job that you know isn't right for you, but it's stable and pays the bills. The universe might be sending you signs that it's time to pursue your true passion, but acknowledging those signs would mean facing the scary prospect of change. It might mean taking risks or stepping out of your comfort zone. So, on some level, you might choose to ignore these signs because it feels safer to stay where you are. This fear of change can manifest in many ways. Maybe you're in a relationship that's not fulfilling, but the thought of being alone is scarier than staying. Or perhaps you have a dream of traveling the world, but the idea of leaving your familiar surroundings is too daunting. In these cases, we might subconsciously tune out the universe's signs because we're not ready to face the changes they're suggesting. Related to the fear of change is our natural tendency to stick with what's familiar. Humans are creatures of habit, and we often prefer the comfort of our routines, even if they're not serving us well. When we're stuck in our routines, we might not be open to new possibilities or different ways of thinking. We might go through our days on autopilot, not really paying attention to what's happening around us. This can make it hard to notice when the universe is trying to show us a new path or a different perspective. For example, you might always take the same route to work. eat at the same restaurants, and hang out with the same people. While there's nothing inherently wrong with having routines, this kind of predictability can make us less likely to notice unusual occurrences or meaningful coincidences. We might miss out on the new opportunity, the inspiring conversation, or the moment of insight that could come from stepping out of our usual patterns. Another reason we might miss signs from the universe is that we're expecting them to be big, dramatic events. We might think that if the universe wants to tell us something, it should be obvious, like a bolt of lightning or a voice from the sky. But the truth is, most universal signs are much more subtle. They're often small, everyday occurrences that only seem significant when we pay close attention. It might be a book that falls open to just the right page, a chance encounter with a stranger, or a song lyric that speaks directly to your situation. If we're always waiting for some grand, unmistakable sign, we might overlook these smaller, more frequent messages. It's like expecting a shout when the universe is actually whispering. By learning to pay attention to these subtle signs, we open ourselves up to a whole world of guidance and insight. One of the first steps in noticing signs from the universe is simply becoming more aware of what's happening around you. This means taking the time to really observe your environment rather than rushing through your day on autopilot. Try this. Next time you're walking somewhere, whether it's to work or just around your neighborhood, really look at what's around you. Notice the colors of the buildings, the shapes of the clouds, the people you pass by. Pay attention to any animals you see, or any unusual objects that catch your eye. You might be surprised at how much you usually miss. This kind of mindful awareness doesn't mean you have to analyze everything you see. It's more about opening yourself up to your surroundings and being receptive to anything that stands out. Maybe you'll notice a billboard with a message that seems meant just for you. Or perhaps you'll see a sequence of numbers that keeps repeating. By paying attention, you're creating the opportunity to notice these potential signs. Remember, the universe often communicates through the ordinary things in our everyday lives. So the more you tune in to your surroundings, the more likely you are to pick up on these subtle messages. One of the best ways to start noticing signs from the universe is to keep a journal. This doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just a notebook where you can jot down anything interesting or unusual that happens during your day. Try to write in your journal every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Note down any coincidences, recurring themes, or gut feelings you experience. Write about your dreams, especially if they feel particularly vivid or meaningful. If you notice any repeated numbers or symbols, make a note of those too. The act of writing things down serves a few purposes. First, it helps you pay more attention to what's happening in your life. When you know you're going to write about your day, you naturally become more observant. Second, it allows you to spot patterns over time. Something that seems like a random occurrence on its own might turn out to be part of a bigger pattern when you look back over your journal entries. Don't worry about interpreting everything as you write it down. The goal at this stage is just to record what's happening. Later, you can look back over your journal and see if any patterns or meanings emerge. To notice signs from the universe, it's important to keep an open mind. This doesn't mean you have to believe everything is a sign, but try to be open to the possibility that the universe might be communicating with you in ways you hadn't considered before. Being open-minded means suspending your judgment at least temporarily. Instead of immediately dismissing something as coincidence or random chance, allow yourself to consider whether it might have a deeper meaning. Ask yourself, what if this is a sign? What might it be trying to tell me? This can be challenging, especially if you're naturally skeptical or if you've been taught to always look for logical explanations. But remember, being open-minded doesn't mean you have to abandon your critical thinking skills. It just means giving yourself permission to explore different possibilities. Try to approach each day with a sense of curiosity and wonder. Look at the world as if you're seeing it for the first time. This kind of childlike openness can help you notice things you might otherwise overlook. Your intuition, or your gut feeling, can be one of your most powerful tools for recognizing signs from the universe. Often, our intuition picks up on things that our conscious mind hasn't yet processed. Learning to trust your intuition takes practice, especially if you're used to always relying on logic and reason. Start by paying attention to how you feel in different situations. Do you get a good feeling about some people or opportunities and a not-so-good feeling about others? Do you ever just know something without knowing how you know it? When you get a strong intuitive feeling, take note of it. You don't have to act on every gut feeling, but by acknowledging them, you'll start to recognize patterns in how your intuition communicates with you. Remember, intuition often communicates through physical sensations in your body. You might feel a tightness in your chest when something's not right, or a sense of lightness and excitement when you're on the right track. Learning to recognize and trust these physical cues can help you tune into the universe's guidance. When you're first learning to notice signs from the universe, it's important to start small and be patient with yourself. Don't expect to suddenly start seeing dramatic signs everywhere you look. Instead, focus on noticing the little things. Maybe you start by just trying to be more aware of the numbers you see throughout your day, or perhaps you decide to pay more attention to the animals you encounter. Pick one or two things to focus on at first, rather than trying to notice everything at once. Remember, recognizing signs from the universe is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time and practice to develop. You might not notice much at first, and that's okay. Keep at it, and over time, you'll likely find that you become more attuned to the subtle messages around you. Be patient with yourself and with the process. Some days you might feel very in tune with the universe, while other days you might feel disconnected. This is normal. The important thing is to keep an open mind and keep practicing. In our busy, noisy world, it can be hard to hear the universe's subtle messages. That's why it's important to create some quiet time in your day. This could be through meditation, prayer, or simply sitting in silence for a few minutes. During this quiet time, try to clear your mind of the day's worries and to-do lists. Focus on your breath or on a calming image. As you quiet your mind, you create space to receive insights and messages that might otherwise get drowned out by the noise of daily life. You might find that ideas or realizations pop into your head during these quiet moments. Pay attention to these. They could be messages from the universe. Even if nothing specific comes to mind, regular quiet time can help you feel more centered and aware, making it easier to notice signs throughout your day. Nature can be a powerful source of signs and messages from the universe. Try to spend some time outdoors every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. This could be a walk in a park, sitting in your backyard, or even just looking out a window at the sky. When you're in nature, use all your senses. Notice the colors and shapes around you. Listen to the sounds of birds or the wind in the trees. Feel the sun or breeze on your skin. Smell the flowers or the earth after rain. Nature often speaks to us through symbols. You might see shapes in the clouds that seem meaningful, or encounter an animal that feels significant. Pay attention to what draws your eye or what feels important to you. Remember, what's meaningful is personal to you. A certain flower might be a powerful sign for you, while it means nothing special to someone else. Trust your own feelings and reactions. If you're facing a difficult decision or feeling unsure about something in your life, try asking the universe for a sign. This doesn't have to be complicated. Simply state your question clearly in your mind or out loud and ask for guidance. For example, you might say something like, "Universe, if I'm on the right path with this new job opportunity, please show me a sign." Then, stay alert for anything that seems like it could be an answer. Be specific about what kind of sign you're looking for, but also remain open to how it might appear. The universe's answer might come in an unexpected form. It might be a conversation you overhear, a passage in a book you're reading, or a sudden insight that pops into your mind. Remember, asking for a sign isn't about testing the universe or demanding proof. It's about opening a dialogue and being receptive to guidance. Whether or not you receive a clear sign, the act of asking can help you clarify your own thoughts and feelings about the situation. Cultivating an attitude of gratitude can help you become more attuned to the signs and messages around you. When we're grateful, we naturally become more aware of the good things in our lives, including the guidance we receive. Try starting or ending each day by listing 3 things you're grateful for. These can be big things, like good health or loving relationships, or small things, like a delicious cup of coffee or a beautiful sunset. As you practice gratitude, you might start to notice more coincidences or lucky breaks in your life. These could be signs from the universe. By appreciating the good things that come your way, you open yourself up to receiving more guidance and support. Remember, the universe often communicates through positive emotions like joy, excitement, and love. By cultivating these feelings through gratitude, you make yourself more receptive to the universe's messages. While noticing signs from the universe is often a personal journey, connecting with others can be helpful too. Talk to friends or family members about your experiences. You might be surprised to find that others have had similar experiences or insights. Consider joining a group or community of like-minded individuals who are also interested in spiritual growth or personal development. This could be an in-person group or an online community. Sharing experiences and ideas with others can help you gain new perspectives and learn new ways of recognizing signs. Remember, though, that everyone's journey is unique. What feels like a sign to someone else might not resonate with you, and vice versa. Trust your own intuition and experiences, even as you learn from others. By implementing these strategies, you can start to develop your ability to notice and interpret signs from the universe. Remember, this is a personal journey, and what works best for you might be different from what works for someone else. Be patient with yourself, stay open and curious, and trust that with practice, you'll become more attuned to the universe's guidance. What to do when you notice a sign. When you notice something that feels like it might be a sign from the universe, the first thing to do is pause. Take a moment to step back from your busy day and really consider what you've just experienced. This pause is crucial because it allows you to shift from your usual autopilot mode into a more mindful state. During this pause, ask yourself some questions. What exactly caught your attention? How did it make you feel? Does it remind you of anything or connect to something you've been thinking about lately? The goal here isn't to immediately jump to conclusions, but to create space for reflection and deeper understanding. Remember, not everything unusual is necessarily a sign from the universe. Sometimes a coincidence is just a coincidence. But by pausing to reflect, you give yourself the opportunity to discern whether this particular occurrence feels meaningful to you. While it's exciting to notice potential signs from the universe, it's important not to leap to immediate conclusions about what they mean. Our minds are great at finding patterns and making connections, which is helpful in many ways, but can also lead us to see significance where there might not be any. Instead of immediately deciding, this must mean X, try to stay open and curious. Consider different possibilities for what the sign could mean. For example, if you keep seeing the number 444 instead of immediately concluding it means you should quit your job, consider that it could be a sign of stability, encouragement, or something else entirely. It's also important not to force an interpretation that isn't really there. Sometimes we want so badly for something to be a sign that we twist its meaning to fit what we hope for. Try to be honest with yourself about whether you're interpreting the sign objectively or if you're seeing what you want to see. When interpreting a potential sign from the universe, it's crucial to consider the context in which it appeared. Think about what's been going on in your life recently. What have you been worried about, hoping for, or working towards? Often signs relate to our current circumstances or pressing concerns. For example, if you've been considering a career change and you suddenly start noticing job ads everywhere, that context makes those ads more likely to be a meaningful sign. On the other hand, if you've just been talking about buying a new car and start seeing that car model everywhere, it might just be your heightened awareness rather than a sign from the universe. Also, consider your emotional state when you notice the sign. Were you feeling particularly open, calm, or introspective? Or were you stressed, distracted, or emotional? Your state of mind can influence how you perceive and interpret events around you. When it comes to interpreting signs from the universe, your intuition is one of your most powerful tools. That gut feeling, that inner knowing, often picks up on subtle cues that your conscious mind might miss. Pay attention to your initial reaction when you notice a potential sign. Did you feel a sense of excitement or recognition? Or did it feel more like wishful thinking? Trust these instinctive responses. They're often your intuition speaking to you. Remember, your intuition speaks in feelings more than words. You might not be able to logically explain why something feels significant, but that doesn't make the feeling any less valid. Learning to trust these intuitive nudges takes practice, but over time, you'll likely find that your gut instincts are often right. One-off occurrences can be meaningful, but when it comes to signs from the universe, patterns are often more significant. If you notice the same type of sign appearing repeatedly, or if you're getting similar messages from different sources, it's more likely to be a genuine sign rather than a coincidence. For example, if you're considering moving to a new city and you start noticing references to that city everywhere, in conversations, in books you're reading, on TV shows, that pattern might be worth paying attention to. Or if you keep having dreams about water and then start noticing water imagery in your waking life too, that repeated symbol could be significant. This is where keeping a journal can be really helpful. By recording potential signs as you notice them, you can look back and see patterns that might not be obvious in the moment. Interpreting signs from the universe isn't about abandoning logic in favor of magical thinking. Instead, it's about finding a balance between your rational mind and your intuition. Use your logical mind to consider the facts and context of the situation. Is there a rational explanation for what you're experiencing? Could it be coincidence or the result of your own actions or choices? At the same time, don't dismiss your intuitive feelings just because they don't seem logical. Our intuition often processes information faster than our conscious mind can, leading to those gut feelings that can be hard to explain but are often accurate. The goal is to use both your logical mind and your intuition together. Let your intuition guide you towards what feels meaningful, and then use your rational mind to consider how it fits into your life and what actions, if any, you might want to take as a result. Noticing and interpreting signs from the universe isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's meant to guide us in our lives. When you feel you've received a sign, consider what action it might be prompting you to take. This doesn't mean you have to make huge, life-altering decisions based on every sign you notice. Sometimes the action might be small. Maybe you feel inspired to reach out to an old friend or to spend more time in nature. Other times, the sign might be encouraging you towards a bigger change, like pursuing a new career path or moving to a new place. Whatever action you feel inspired to take, approach it with mindfulness and intention. Consider how it aligns with your values and long-term goals. Remember, the universe might provide guidance, but you're still in charge of your own decisions and actions. Interpreting signs from the universe is a skill that develops over time. Don't expect to immediately understand every sign you notice, or to always know exactly what action to take. Sometimes the meaning of a sign only becomes clear in hindsight, or after you've seen more pieces of the puzzle. Trust that if something is truly important, the universe will find ways to repeat the message. If you're unsure about a sign, it's okay to wait and see if more clarity comes with time. Sometimes, the act of noticing the sign and being open to its message is enough to set changes in motion, even if you don't take immediate action. Remember, this is a journey of personal growth and self-discovery. Each sign you notice and interpret is an opportunity to learn more about yourself and your place in the universe. Be patient with yourself, stay open and curious, and trust in the process of your own unfolding understanding. I'd like to share a personal experience I had with noticing and following a sign from the universe. A few years ago, I was feeling stuck in my career. I knew I wasn't happy in my current job, but I was afraid to make a change. I kept telling myself that I should be grateful for a stable job, even if it wasn't fulfilling. One day, as I was walking to work, feeling particularly down about my situation, I noticed a bright yellow butterfly flutter past me. Now, Butterflies aren't uncommon where I live, but something about this one caught my attention. It seemed to dance around me for a moment before flying off. Later that same day, I was flipping through a magazine during my lunch break, and there was an article about career changes. The headline read, "Spread your wings. It's never too late for a new beginning." The image accompanying the article? A yellow butterfly. At first, I brushed it off as a coincidence, but then, on my way home, I passed a new mural that had just been painted on a building. The centerpiece of the mural was a huge, vibrant yellow butterfly. 3 yellow butterflies in one day felt like more than just chance. I decided to pay attention to this potential sign. I knew that butterflies often symbolize transformation and new beginnings. The yellow color, I learned, is associated with joy, optimism, and clarity of thought. I realized that the universe might be encouraging me to embrace change, to spread my wings, and pursue a career that truly made me happy. It was as if the universe was saying, it's okay to transform. It's okay to seek joy in your work. This realization gave me the courage to start exploring new career options. I began researching fields that interested me, took some online courses, and even reached out to people in industries I was curious about. It wasn't an overnight transformation. It took time, effort, and yes, some moments of doubt. But every time I felt unsure, I would remember those yellow butterflies. They became a symbol of encouragement for me, a reminder that change, while scary, can also be beautiful. Over the next year, I gradually transitioned into a new career that aligns much more closely with my passions and values. Looking back, I can see how that one day, that one sign, was a turning point for me. It wasn't that the butterflies magically changed my life, but they gave me the nudge I needed to change it myself. This experience taught me the power of staying open to signs from the universe. It showed me that sometimes the guidance we need is all around us. We just need to pay attention and have the courage to follow where it leads. As we come to the end of our exploration into the signs the universe might be sending us, it's important to take a moment to reflect on what we've discovered. We've journeyed through understanding why the universe might communicate with us, how to notice these signs, and what to do when we recognize them. Remember, the universe is vast and mysterious, and its ways of communicating can be just as diverse and unique as we are. What serves as a sign for one person might not hold the same meaning for another. That's why it's crucial to develop your own relationship with the universe and learn to trust your intuition. We've learned that signs can come in many forms, from repeating numbers and meaningful coincidences to dreams, physical sensations, and encounters with nature. We've also discovered that sometimes the universe speaks through the people around us or through the quiet whispers of our own intuition. But noticing these signs is just the beginning. The real magic happens when we learn to interpret these messages and take inspired action based on them. This doesn't mean blindly following every perceived sign, but rather using them as guideposts on our journey of personal growth and self-discovery. It's important to approach this practice with an open mind and a balanced perspective. While being receptive to signs from the universe can add a layer of magic and meaning to our lives, it's equally important to use our logical minds and to take responsibility for our choices and actions. Remember, the universe isn't here to control our lives or make decisions for us. Rather, these signs are invitations invitations to pay attention, to reflect, to grow, and to align more closely with our true selves and our highest path. As you move forward from here, I encourage you to stay curious and open,